ride. Welcome to day 4. This is the big day, Haleakala. This is almost the reason for the whole expedition. You're going to be leaving at 4 a.m. if you got a sunrise permit for Haleakala. You're going to be leaving at 7 a.m. if not. And I'm going to talk about things in relation to riding a scooter up there because it is not easy. So if you're riding on a scooter, you're going to be taking a highway. Instead of Highway 37, I've laid out a route in black so that you can avoid Highway 37 because it's steep, it's a highway, and people might not be happy that you're there going slowly, getting in the way. And the rules are go in the bike lane on a highway. If you're on a scooter, that's not really relevant. It hasn't really been relevant so far with going to Hana and things like that, but it will be kind of relevant now because Highway 37 is it represents an actual highway that you're used to with big multi-lanes. And if your scooter can't quite make it up the hill, if it's having trouble, you don't want to be getting off and trying to push start it when you're on a big jumping highway. So I've laid out an alternate route in black that is not in gray on another tab. It is in black, and the route takes you through to Highway 377 if you're on to Haleakala Highway. After that, if you're on a regular motorcycle, you take either this route, not recommended for motorcycle. You'd go from if you're on a regular motorcycle, you'd go from the sea level up Highway 37 to Highway 377 to Haleakala Highway, the steepest highway in America. If you're on a scooter, you're going to take that alternate route up to where it joins Highway 377 to Haleakala Highway, the steepest highway in America. Oh yeah. And you're going to maybe have some trouble if you're on a scooter because of the steepness. I did it on a 50cc scooter with my friend. I'm a little bit heavier than he is, so he wasn't having a problem, but I was having a problem. I had to keep my scooter would die out, it would turn off, and then I would have to run it up the highway, start it, gas it, and jump on a few times. I would say that it's worth it though. It's quite a legendary thing to do. It's only been done once successfully on a 50cc scooter, and that was by me. Other people have tried and failed, but I'm telling you how to do it. Your carburetor is going to have a little bit of difficulty because there's not the same mixture of oxygen and gas as you get up to those higher elevations and 10,000 feet. So I would bring some extra gas. The legal way to do that is in a gas can. The illegal way to do that is in a Gatorade gas and Gatorade bottle. I'm not telling you to do that. That's what I did, but that's illegal. I'm not telling you to do that. But you want to have some extra gas just in case, because it's tough for those bikes to get up there. All right, this is where motorcycles rejoin the tour explanation. So when you get up to the top, you'll be at 10,200 feet. You'll check out the observatory, see if you can catch a glimpse of the big island. Look at the West Maui Mountains. Perhaps you can see Molokai, Lanai, or Ko'olawe. Those are the three islands to the west, offshore islands. And after that, you're going to be embarking on the Sliding Sands Trail. Excellent, spectacular, scenic trail. And you'll start out from the summit of Haleakala, and you will come out, you'll exit the trail at the Halema'u trailhead. That's a couple of miles down the road. And you can pretty easily hitchhike from there up to the top again later, especially if it's going to be, moving towards the afternoon. Definitely you'll catch a ride with people coming up. Nobody nefarious because it's a tourist area. Nefarious people don't go so far uphill for no reason. They stay next to their resources like gas stations, etc. So you're going to run into nice people. If you're having trouble getting a ride, take your head off, smile. Look more innocent. Not that you're not innocent, but look innocent. If that doesn't work, then hold some cash out, but you won't need to hold some cash out. Hawaii is a friendly place. Somebody will pick you up. If you're on a motorcycle, you can just go back down the road, leave a single motorcycle there, and both people hop on the motorcycle and go back up to the top. If you're on scooters, you can't do this because scooters will not support the weight of two people. And I believe it's illegal to ride doubles on a 50cc scooter. So you're just going to have to hitchhike later, but it's really no problem. All right, that Sliding Sands hike. You're starting out at 10,000 feet, and you're gonna just keep left and you'll have no issues. But brief talk through that. Really spectacular Martian looking landscape. Very cool. You're gonna take your first left and your second hairpin left after that, and then just keep trying to take lefts. But if you come to that hairpin left and you got a whole bunch of energy, you can take a right and go around that crater. I would have a map if you're going to do this. I would have a map regardless, but know what you're doing. You can check out the bottomless pit, Pele's paint pot, other things that are there. I do have these points. I do have the turns mapped out for you, but they're not linked to anything existing in Google. There are no little stores in there with Google Maps advertising. So this is mainly for visual support. You cannot view these points on Google Maps and route yourself, but it's relatively easy. So that when you get to the bottom of the crater, that's about 6,000 feet. You may think that you can get down to the bottom of the crater and hike back up, but it's far easier to continue on later and go up to the Halima'u trailhead, which is 8,000 feet. So it's easier to go 2,000 feet up rocks than 4,000 feet up sand. So back to the trail, you're continuing through the crater and you're getting more towards the windward side, and you see that Martian landscape turn into some black sand in some points, and then you see that Martian landscape turn into a tropical landscape. It's one of the most surreal things ever. Very cool. If you're on the shoulder season, it's a lot more misty. It makes it kind of mystic because you can't really tell exactly what's going on. Really incredible. You know, it's everything feels like you're somewhere that's not on Earth. So anyway, you're coming back up 2,000 feet on some switchbacks, on some stone cliffs. You're not like climbing up cliffs, but you're taking switchbacks. It's not so bad. If you got hiking poles like I'm going to recommend, those will help you significantly. And that's in the more tropical climate zone. You'll come back up to the top where you got one or both of your bikes, and you come back down. If you're on motorcycles especially, you can come back down without even doing the hike. Maybe if you want to skip the hike, I wouldn't recommend it. I would say do the hike, but if you're just here to ride, you can ride down that steepest highway in America, and you can take the Highway 37 route, but I would recommend that you take my alternate route that I have on another layer of the Google Maps, and that'll take you through the curvier tropic countryside rather than straight down Highway 37, which is cool because it's so steep, but you know, it's eventless, and just like skydiving, it's over before it has begun. So if you want to just ride up and down as many times as you can fit with the time that you have, you know, that's a pretty cool option too. And you can take that alternate route that I have and lean into those turns if you're experienced on a motorcycle. Quite fun. And so you can perhaps go all the way to the summit, come back down if you're on a motorcycle, and you'll probably have the time to go back up again and do the hike. If you're on a scooter, it'll take some time to come up, so you probably won't have time to go down, to go up, come down, go up again, do the hike, and then come down again, unless you're going to run through the crater. So after that, you'll be in Paya Town. That route in gray comes to the ocean a bit east of Paya, so you'll be going through Paya Town. On my layer of the Google My Maps, I have all the Maui restaurants layered in different colors and things like that. I think gray is hard to access. Before I begin with that, all the Maui restaurants are good restaurants. You're going to get your value, and it's going to taste pretty good. You know, there's something special about each and every one of them. I did not map out all the restaurants in Maui. I mapped out all the best ones. None of them pay me for that. The ones in gray are a little bit harder to access. The ones in scarlet they're just good. The ones that are in darker red are more budget options. Still great because they're on the list. They're still great. And the ones in purple are just outstanding. One of the ones in purple is like one of the top 10 best restaurants in the U.S. But if you're going through Pie Town, you can look on that whole list of things, or you can just stop at Pie Fish Market. They have pretty good food. And you can alternatively go to Mana Foods, get some stuff from their hot food counter, and go to Baldwin Beach Park, just a little bit down the road. It's labeled in black. Have your lunch there. And just across the street from Pie Fish Market is Ululani's Shave Ice. Best shave ice. My only preference for shave ice on Maui. That's where I would go. I can say a lot about that. Ululani's Shave Ice is what I'm going to choose to say, though. After that, I would say to go to Kamaole 1 Beach Park. There are 3 Kamaoles. I would say to go to the first one. They got some rolling waves there. Not too much crashing waves, but just rolling waves. Pretty cool. I like it a lot. And I've laid out a place for you to get food supplies at Foodland with the poke. I think I've talked about that already. Poke is pretty spectacular. Or there's 808 Deli. Or you can look at my list of Maui restaurants there and find one that's nearby. There's a lot that are nearby. And I didn't want to put too many decisions in your hands, but it's a pretty easy decision to make because you don't have to consider location. It's already right there. And you don't have to consider if it's a good place or not, because I found that for you already. And if you're looking for like a great place or a budget place, both of those have already laid out. So the decision's pretty easy. So if you want a super refined decision for where to eat, there you go. And after that, you can watch the sunset at Kamaole Beach Park 1. I would go to where you're going to sleep after that. I don't know if Kihei is a super friendly place. After dark, it's probably okay, but you know, maybe not super friendly. So I would go to your choice of overnight places. If you're gonna take the boat for tomorrow from Ma'alea Harbor, you can go to Makena Beach, and that'll be a cool short ride to that boat harbor in the morning. You still have Papaloa Wayside Park, which is legal but expensive unless you're under 18. Then it's $5, but still there might be some locals that are not thrilled that you're there, and will let you know that they're not thrilled that you're there. There's also Highway 30 Beach, which is very accessible, but it's also accessible for people swinging by who might want to take your bike. So I don't really recommend it, but it's there. I would say go to DT Fleming Beach and all night fish. That'll be especially useful if you're not taking the boat tour, if you're going to the Waihee Ridge Trail tomorrow in lieu of that boat tour. So, day 5. We got that boat trip. There's like 30 different boats that leave from Maui. I've shortlisted them to the best 10, and then I've considered the options, and I've chosen the best 3, best, second best, and third best. That's on a separate Excel document in resources. You're leaving from Ma'alea Harbor or Kihei Boat Ramp. There are boats that leave from Lahaina. I didn't recommend them because it's hard to park in Lahaina. You can have so much trouble parking that you miss your tour. After that tour of Molokini Crater, that boat tour of Molokini Crater, spectacular by the way, really spectacular. Fish preserve, great snorkeling. If you don't like snorkeling, it's still cool, but you know, maybe it's not worth it. By the way, Molokini is a little horseshoe shape between the south of Maui and the Kaho'olawe Island. Molokai is an island, offshore island to the north of Maui. People get those mixed up. After that boat tour, you're going northwards on the west coast of Maui. I would stop at Leota's Kitchen and Pie Shop. I already have stuff on that, but they got fresh pies there, fresh ingredients. It's not super expensive. Sometimes there's a long line. It's worth it though. And then you're proceeding to Honolulu Bay. People pay $200 simply to take a boat. Sometimes from Black Rock area to Honolulu area. It's just a couple of miles. I paid $200 for the spot. You paid me how much for this information? Almost nothing. In comparison, Honolulu Bay is that next spot. I've laid out the parking. I've laid out the trailhead. And if you go to the beach, just go to the right-hand side. You don't have to go very far out, and you'll see some, very likely see some turtles. Definitely a whole bunch of fish. Just go to the coral there. You don't have to go. You don't have to go very far, and that's where you'll meet up with Plan B. Now, Plan B is you're riding around the north end of the West Maui Mountains again because it's so spectacular. It's so cool to ride there. And you're going to the Waihee Ridge Trail. That is the best hike on the island. You're doing it in the morning because in the afternoon clouds roll in and obscure your view of the West Maui Mountains, of the North Maui coastline from high above, of a better view of Haleakala, where you really have the elevation to appreciate how large that really is and how steep of a hill that really is. Very cool hike. Shouldn't take you too long, maybe 2 hours, 3 hours. And then after that, you're going back up. You're riding back up along the North Maui coastline, checking out the Olivine pools. There's a lot of signs that say, hey, you're going to die here. Those might be posted by the government, or they might be put there by the locals because they don't like you at their spot. Nevertheless, check out, it's very important that you check out the tide and make sure that the tide is not spilling over into the pools, because then it might be able to pull water and you out of the pools to the ocean. That's not fun. That's most likely lethal too. So don't go in at the tide super high if you can't see the pools underneath the tide, things like that. And also, if you have weak water shoes, you might scratch your feet. If you have like flip-flops, you might scratch your feet going in, or you might scratch your feet getting out of the pools. I scratched my feet pretty badly in bare feet, so be aware of that. There's a lot of like shells and urchins and whatever the name is that live in those rocks, so you might scratch your feet on them if you're not careful. Next is the Nakalele blowhole. It's pretty cool. If you've never seen a blowhole, there's a big force of the tide. It comes in through a small channel in the rocks, and it forces itself out this quarter-size hole, sometimes like 30 feet in the air. Pretty cool to watch. The trailheads to both the Nakalele blowhole and the Olivine pools are pretty short enough that they're not worth putting into writing. Ignore that icon that says no boat trip. Start here, because that was for the first trip around. Now after that, you're going to the Honolulu Bay, and you can have ideally you'd have lunch at the pools, but you're going to Honolulu Bay. You can snorkel there. Pretty cool. Go to the right side. As I said, I laid out the parking, the trailhead, and the beach itself. I would think that you would know when you have found the beach. If you're not as good at swimming, it's better to try snorkeling here because it's a bay. It's pretty sheltered. You don't have that tide sucking you out to sea. You can check out the sunset here. It's a little bit different. You have a closer view of the clouds above Molokai, and the reason I'm paying so much reverence to these sunsets is because Maui sunsets are quite unique. The cloud formations collect around the mountain tops of these offshore islands, and they make the sunsets all kinds of different colors and shapes and things like that. So the sunset's a little bit different here, and it's very cool to be in calm water for the sunset. You can alternatively go to Black Rock Beach if you like that better. You want some social scene at sunset. We talked about the parking on day 3. Now it's day 6. You got your flight sometime in the day. If you got extra time on your way to return your bike, you can go back to Kamaole Beach Park 1 for that for the rolling tide. If you're there in like February, you can stick your head in the float on the water, stick your ears in the water, and listen to the whales, because they are saying stuff. You can hear them. And you can get some food supplies or poke from Foodland. If you get fresh food like apples and stuff, they'll probably confiscate it. They will confiscate fresh fruit at the airport, but they will not confiscate a bucket of poke if you get some poke. And it'll be earlier in the day, so you'll have time to get that poke. And then you'll take an Uber or a bus to the airport. Uber's nicer if you got the money. Bus is probably like $4. And then you'll get to the airport, you'll get checked in, and before you board the plane, you're going to whip out your phone and tell 100 people how cool this was. Please and thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the adventure.